YouTube channel. I hope you're doing really well. So today's video is going to be a thrift flip kind of DIY checkerboard tank top. This is one that I made. I also made another one which is unfortunately too small for me, but this is the one that I'm going to be showing you in this video. I do want to say this video took me weeks and weeks and weeks to make. It is a really fun thing to make and I'm really happy with the outcome, but I can't lie, it's very time consuming. So some of it is filmed at night time, which is why the lighting might not be the best. But yeah, if you want to learn how to make one of these tops, keep watching. So you will need to start with 2 t-shirts, try and get some which are a few sizes bigger, and what we're going to do is seam rip all of the edges. This takes absolutely ages, but be patient with it. This is how I felt afterwards. So you should be left with 4 pieces of fabric, the front and back of each top. You can discard the sleeves for another project. And you will also need to keep the neckband of one of the tops. So I didn't actually seam rip the very bottom hem because there's no need to, because you can just cut that straight off. If you seam rip it, there's going to be loads of like needle holes in it, which you won't really be able to use that fabric anyway. So just go ahead and cut the bottom hem off of each piece of fabric. Then after you've done this, you should essentially be left with 4 pieces of fabric which have no hems, no seams, anything like that. So basically what we want to do is cut all of the fabric we've got into strips, and then this will start to form your checkerboard effect. So you want to get some cardboard and make a template. So you want to figure out how thick you want the strips to be and then add a seam allowance. Don't add too much of a seam allowance as you'll be left with a tiny piece of fabric at the end. I actually forgot to add the seam allowance, which is why I've got 2 pieces of cardboard here. But yeah, make your template and then add the seam allowance, and then what we're going to do is trace out these strips onto your fabric. I'm just using a candle. You can use anything heavy just to kind of keep this strip of cardboard down, and then I'm going to use some tailor's chalk to mark it out. So as you can see here, I'm just marking out that strip. I think my strips of fabric were about 10 centimeters maybe. So as you can see here, I have marked that all out, and then you just want to cut this across the line that you traced onto the fabric. And yeah, just cut that out. You basically want to just cut all of the material we've got into these strips, so just keep tracing that piece of cardboard all the way up to the top of the material, and do that on all 4 sides of the top that we cut out. And this is what the strip should look like, just a plain strip of material. And then you should be left with just a ton of strips of fabric. Now what we're going to do next is get the strips of fabric and kind of line them up next to each other, and you're going to want to get some pins and pin them right side together. pin them along the long side, not the short side, because we're going to be sewing across the long side. And yep, just pin all along that side. This does take a while, I can't lie to you, but it's not too difficult. And it is quite time consuming, but you basically just want to do this to all of the strips of fabric. So it's going to end up being one really, really long piece of fabric, but just alternating colours, pin them right side together. And this is what it should look like, just one long strip of fabric. And this is what it looks like on the back, all of the sides pinned together. Then what we're going to do is, along every single side where the pins are, we're going to do a straight stitch to kind of join all of these strips of fabric together. Make sure you do a bit of a back stitch as well, I don't think I did here. And yeah, just do a straight stitch all along this side. As I said earlier, try not to do too big of a seam allowance, because I did that before and I used a 4X t-shirt and I did so much of a massive seam allowance that I only got a small size top out of it. This is what it should look like, just a plain straight stitch. And then, yeah, you're basically just going to do that to every single side that has the pins in. And this is what it should look like, just one really long piece of fabric. And this is what it looks like on the back. Now, what we're going to do is cut this long piece of fabric into even more strips, but we're going to be cutting them the other way. So just the same as we did the first time, line up your template, use the tailor's chalk to mark it out. And do this all along the fabric. So this is what it should look like, and then we're just going to cut those strips out. If you started with a striped t-shirt, this is basically where you start. So what we're going to do is lay out all of these strips of fabric, but every other strip of fabric is going to be kind of like flipped vertically, so it creates this checkerboard effect. Now what we're going to do is take the first two strips and pin them right sides together. Try your best to kind of line up like the different colours so it doesn't overlap, so it looks like checkerboard and it doesn't look like just stripes. Again, this takes a long time, but it's fine, it's not too difficult to do. It might not be properly aligned, but it doesn't matter too much because it won't look too bad at the end. And this is what it should look like, just pinned right sides together, and you're going to want to do that with all of the strips of fabric. Now we are going to make our pattern piece. So I just taped a few pieces of paper together to get a big piece of paper, and I found this vest top. It's actually a sweater vest that I really like the fit of. So just grab kind of like a vest top or like a tank top or a sweater vest that you like the fit of, and then trace around that. So there are a few bits of the sweater vest, like it kind of puffs out at the sides a little bit, that I didn't like. So I kind of just edited it afterwards and made it a bit more straight rather than round, but you can kind of change yours up how you like. And then I just trace around that pattern piece with tailor's chalk onto the actual fabric. I just trace around the actual template. This doesn't include a seam allowance, but when I cut it out I will include the seam allowance. And this is what it looks like. And then I just cut that out. So I cut out two pieces, obviously the front and the back, and the front will have a bit more of a scoop neck, and then the neckline on the back is a bit more straight. And then you want to have like the same kind of seam allowance all around the sides, and then a longer one on the hem. And on the neckline it doesn't actually need a seam allowance because we'll be using bias tape. So what you want to do to start constructing the actual garment is to put the two pieces of fabric right side together, and we're going to join one of the shoulders first. So you just want to line it all up and pin it together. And this is what it looks like. And then you just want to sew along that line ready to connect the first shoulder together. Make sure you back stitch it as well. And then when that first shoulder is done, we're going to start working on the neckline. So get that neckband from earlier and just unstitch it here if yours looks like this, just so it's kind of one long piece of fabric. And then basically we're going to make bias tape out of this. So fold the two sides of the fabric into the middle. I'll show you here. So then you pin it together. It is quite tricky. And this is what it should look like at the end. So you fold both sides of the fabric into the middle. And then you just want to use an iron to quickly press it down, just to kind of hold it in place. So we're going to attach this to the neckline now. So it's a bit difficult to see here, but you basically want to sandwich the seam of the neckline in the middle of this bias tape. So just pop it in and then fold the top over and pin it down. Hopefully this is clear enough. If not, leave me any questions in the comments down below. And this is what it should look like when it's all pinned down. Just make sure the top is like securely in the bias tape. And then you just want to sew this. So I do have a heavy duty sewing machine, but still just be really careful because there's a lot of layers of fabric here, so just go slowly. And this is what it should look like. I can't lie, mine isn't the neatest, but it is difficult. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to attach the other shoulders together. So just exactly the same as before, right sides together, line up the shoulder, pin it, and then sew it. And I'm just marking on the top here, just so I can kind of see when I'm sewing what direction to go in. And then you just want to sew this. So now the two shoulders are done, it should kind of look like a bit of an apron really. And now we're going to hem the armholes. So I just like to do a really thin hem on these. So just you fold it over a tiny little bit and then you just sew. It's quite simple really. And this is what it should look like. And then the next step, so we're almost done here, we're gonna sew the sides together. So again, it's pretty simple, just get your pins and line the sides up. So this is what it looks like with all the pins in both sides. It should be kind of looking like a proper garment now. And then just do a simple straight stitch along the sides. And now we're going to hem the bottom, which is the last step. So again, pretty simple, just kind of fold it over and sew along the bottom. Again, just go slow, make sure it's careful. I'm just using a straight stitch here. And now it's all done. So this is the final garment. I really like it. Yeah, it looks great and I hope yours does as well. Guys, that's all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I actually have another thrift flip on my channel, which is a Y2K denim ruffle skirt, which is really cute. That video is performing really well, so if you have come from that video, hi, please subscribe. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this thrift flip video. If you would like some more, leave me some suggestions down below. If you like this video, make sure you leave me a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe as well. I think quite a big percentage of my viewers aren't subscribed, so please subscribe. It absolutely makes my day. And yeah, that's all for today's video. If you are interested in the other top that I made, I'll put a picture on the screen now. That will be up on my Depop because it is too small for me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys soon. Love you, bye.